Howdy, y'all. Joe Hills here, recording as I always do in Nashville, Tennessee. And as you can see, I've already got 19 diamonds here. These are the first 19 diamonds this shop has generated. So I've also got some bones that we can go restock with. Why don't we head inside and get that done now? Once we enter the shop, this first box here. Hey, no, we're restocking. Okay, we've got a few of these bones to put in there. Lumbar vertebrae, yeah, looking good. I've also restocked our occipital bones and our ulnas. Actually, we'd sold 7 of, but yeah. We are just putting away the diamonds because there's no bank yet. I mean, there is, it's just not open. So until the Scar Bank opens, I feel like we need to focus on achieving our interior design goals here. Now, most of these little paintings are just inside of an item frame like that. But some of them are actually inside of an armor stand like this. And what we need to do is we need to go get more item frames and put them along this bit up here and then put invisible armor stand paintings in front of them. Because in those item frames we will be placing wallpaper designed to mirror kind of the lime green that we've got from the concrete here. So this is going to be a whole thing. You might say, Joe, how are you going to kill enough time, placing wool blocks to make a map? Well, luckily, I've read a couple good books lately. Specifically, Operation Bounce House by Matt Dinniman, as well as Nonviolent, the memoir of Reverend James Lawson Jr., one of my professors at Vanderbilt University, written by Reverend Lawson as well as Emily Yellen. So why don't we go ahead and wander over to the mapping district and get underway about that. And we'll start by talking a little bit about Operation Bounce House. We are now out here at our nascent mapping district where you can see how far out we are. We got plenty of room to fill in all of this water with maps before we start encroaching on hermit lands. I've got a map in mind now offhand that matches this one that we are going to make chroma green. And while we do that, we're going to talk a little bit about those books. Now, I've talked about Matt Dinniman's novels, Dungeon Crawler Carl, and, the series that follows it before. And I've written a whole blog post about it. You can find a link to that in the YouTube description below. But much like the John Wick movies, the one thing that I don't really like about those is every time I get to the end, I was just like, oh, it's a shame it had to be so violent. I mean, I understand, that the John Wick movies, to some degree, are making fun of action movies. They are heightened action films, bringing things beyond the absurd. But on some level, I kind of find it reassuring when there is a non-violent solution to problems. It's pretty clear to me that some of my attitudes about violence were shaped by my experience as a student at Vanderbilt University, where I had the good fortune to take classes with one of the most famous people to ever be expelled from Vanderbilt University, Reverend James Lawson Jr., who taught a course about nonviolence. After being invited back to the university to teach, he was kicked out in the 1960s from the Vanderbilt Divinity School because of his involvement with the boycotts downtown and the sit-ins and all sorts of other things, which we're going to talk about a little bit more later. But, it kind of got me thinking, it'd be nice if not every problem in every story had to be resolved that way. It's more interesting when problems aren't always resolved with violence. And this leads us to one of the biggest differences between the approaches of the protagonists in Dinniman's Operation Bounce House and Dinniman's Dungeon Crawler Carl novels. And that is, in Operation Bounce House, the protagonists are descendants of humans who left Earth on generation ships a long time ago and have come to a new world and settled it and started setting up farms. All the main characters are farmers. And basically, the idea is that they had a wormhole gateway thing to reconnect them to Earth, and that they finally got built, and as soon as it opens, Earth starts sending drones through to have all of them killed, so that Earth can steal the planet from the people who worked to get it ready for, living. And this might sound like, okay, yeah, that sounds like a really violent book. There is a lot of violence in the book, but one of the things that's interesting about it, from a non-violent standpoint, is that the antagonists, the genocidal folks back on Earth, who are basically like, well, these settlers who modified their genes slightly to survive on this planet aren't even human anymore, so we can kill them all and take their stuff. They're sending in, remote-controlled drones and robots and stuff to go attack the settler farmers, and the settler farmers don't have any way to attack Earth. So everything that they do to fight back has to be some form of social pressure or sabotage or things like that to try to get any sort of, long-term solution to their problem of, boy, it is most unfortunate that a bunch of drones are coming through this portal. And what makes this story interesting in several ways is that it connects with a few issues right now that are on everybody's mind. One of them is artificial intelligence. One way Dinniman nails home the idea that violence is dumb is by going out of his way to set up a scenario here where Earth has banned artificial intelligences beyond a certain level of sophistication. So all of the drones that are deployed to the farm planet of New Sonora need to be piloted by real humans. And these humans are not part of some sort of volunteer army or a drafted or conscripted army. They are basically gamers who are paying for the right to live stream them killing people with these drones for their Twitch channels. And it does not look good. It is not a good look. The idea that the sort of people who would sign up for that are probably pretty terrible people is something that is fully explored in the novel in a way that I found particularly, let's say, valuable for making the point that the people who choose to enlist in this sort of violence for their own gain are going to have certain moral failings that are going to permeate their character, and the folks who are forced into a position of resistance and basically just want to be left alone to their farms are, in contrast, going to be very different people. Now, there is the element of, okay, well, what about do the farmers have guns? Joe, the book you're describing, it sounds like it would, I know that in real life farmers have guns. Well, you're going to have different flora and fauna in an alien world. But no, they're not worried about, like, I got to keep a loaded shotgun for rattlesnakes type of things. They do actually get access to some weapons, but once again, they are only shooting at drones, remote control weapons. So you've got one side of a conflict that is gleefully televising mowing down humans. And you've got another side of the conflict where people are sabotaging equipment. And some of that sabotages via weapons, but it's a different type of thing. And this thematically just recurs throughout the whole novel, the different ways that basically one of the least effective ways that the farmers can resist is just blowing stuff up. Ideally, they need to stop things from going sideways in the first place. They need to address root issues. I don't want to spoil the ways that Matt Dinniman explores the theme that violence is dumb and it's not a good idea. But it's a book that just delightfully looks at introducing people who might be more of a young gamer background, might not really think about this stuff. It's going to introduce some concepts that I think would prepare the mind for reading things like Emily Yellen's Nonviolent. And so yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. Since we're making a big green screen anyway, we may as well play with it while we cover some fun Federal Trade Commission disclaimer adjacent clarifications. I paid for my copy of Operation Bounce House and have never received anything free from Matt Dinneman, who I've only met once yesterday, and we paid for that signing out of pocket. Now, the next book I'm going to talk about, Nonviolent, the posthumous memoir of my old professor, Reverend James Lawson Jr., I did receive a free copy of, as did every other attendee at a talk at the historic Woolworth Theater by Emily Yellen, Reverend Lawson's co-author on the memoir. I was invited, as was everyone else in the community, but they emailed me in particular because I contribute money when I can to the James Lawson Institute at Vanderbilt. So even though, yes, I got the book for free, they didn't expect me to review it or probably even know that I have a YouTube channel. And believe me, I've given more money than I've gotten back in the value of this book. But I did technically get it for free, so I'm letting y'all know. Anyway, let's talk about Nonviolent. The story of how the real-life champion for equal rights, James Lawson, made the conscious choice in his youth to attempt to change the world without resorting to violence. Unlike the fictional farmers in Operation Bounce House, who kind of fell into that sort of thing sideways, Lawson pursued an understanding of effective nonviolent resistance by going out of his way to study movements like Gandhi's efforts to expel the British Empire from India, and worked with others to intentionally create a network, starting with a network of students that were willing to defy the law and risk arrest to assert that folks deserved equal access to lunchrooms across the city of Nashville. Lawson's work on those sit-ins got him expelled from Vanderbilt Divinity School, but he still persisted in working with those who shared his zeal for the respect of human dignity. The memoir covers not only his work in Nashville and across the South, including freedom rides, the sanitation workers movement in Memphis, and more, but it's not just a historical account. It shares the exemplary life of a man who put himself out into the world, met with others and listened, trying to understand them so he could help build something bigger than himself. It was to the great benefit of my personal development that I was able to hear many of the stories in this book from Reverend Lawson himself when he was my professor. Eventually, Vanderbilt invited him back to be a professor after expelling him, so you know he did something right. Anyway, I'm grateful that his memoir means now everyone can benefit from reflecting on his example, which I believe strongly encourages us each to ask ourselves how we can better connect with those around us and to contribute to building a more kind and just world we can all share. I strongly recommend this book, and I hope you pick it up. Howdy, 12-foot skeleton on our front yard. Let's head on in with our completed maps and see how this looks. I'm not so sure about that. The green there kind of matches the green here, but the walls don't quite have the same appearance. It looks like there's a smooth gradient there, but the maps are not lit on any sort of gradient. If we apply these maps more liberally, perhaps liberal maps, bum, 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 bum. We could maybe make that work if we put a bunch of interesting artwork in front of them. We probably want to use the if invisible trigger to have these go into the wall more. So that's better than it was. I'm not sure I love that seam there. It's interesting. Interesting has a value. So let's go ahead and start putting these in, not on the ceiling, but just broadly across here. And at that point, maybe we even swap these back with the blue so that the frame on the windows looks better. Maybe we use white for that? I don't know. We'll mess around with this and see what makes sense. That definitely made no sense. That part, no. No, no, no. But here we go. Time skip. While those maps have caused us some issues back at the 12-foot skeleton in my front yard shop, I think they are precisely the tool for the job for our green screen at our comedy news desk. So let's go ahead and get those in there like so. That is looking slick. You can see how there was that lighting gradient over here before. And now that's basically a solved problem. Yep, I kind of love it. I kind of love it. That is exactly what we need for our desk there. And we can do something similar downstairs at our wall here. Although I realize with this wall, we actually can't do that because we need these signs. So unless I had these signs be freestanding in front of that, let's try that. Okay, so Queen Dark Lady, we're taking your sign down temporarily. And then we're gonna see, could I put something behind that? Ooh. So then we're going to take down Toxic Litter, and I'm never going to be able to spell Yurgi's name again. So then we have that like that. So we're going to have an extra stick there, which will be Z fighting that. But then behind it, we can have these like so. I actually do kind of like the sign having... This is such... How do they not know? How do you make this game and not know? There are hanging signs in Minecraft that are designed to be vertically stacked. Yeah, so maybe what we do is we have hanging signs in front of the item frames with the green screens, and then we don't have the Z fighting, because this is, wow. Who needs that? Who needs that? Okay. After some error and trial and a little bit of denial, I figured out that the secret to getting this to work is going to be to ensure that we have even lighting on the signs from even backlighting blocks. The item frames are going to be consistently lit by the squid ink in them. And so we're going to have a nice flat green for this all day long. Not all night long, though. Apparently at night, these item frames start, like, flickering violently. So we need to make sure we only record during the day. But that's fine. We can do this only during the day. Then we have the stage upstairs for only at night. And we'll get it done. But we have more to do back at the shop. Let's go get some armor stands, because it's no time to stop. Time skip. I have been working on the outside of the house here, trying to get some gutters on, but I realize I feel like some slabs would probably look better for the interior of this roof here. Wooden slabs would probably be more architecturally accurate to the original, but our pal Corrales just opened a quartz shop across the way here, and it feels like we should maybe consider doing some shopping there. Let's see, I'm not sure which entrance we're supposed to be using here. This is a lumberyard. Quartz shop is this way, presumably. Yeah, see, there's big unloading wagons of quartz. I love these tent flap designs. Are these where he sells the quartz, though? No. This is fantastic design for a tent. I wish I would have come up with this at the beginning of my season for my little mining tent. Okay, where does he sell the quartz, though? I'm guessing we've got big... here we go. We've got smooth quartz, 2 diamonds per stack. That's a great deal. That's a ludicrous deal. We probably actually also need quartz for other parts of our theater that we're going to be working on. So yeah, we're going to buy 4 diamonds worth of quartz. That's wild. Let's go ahead and turn some of these into slabs right now. We don't even have to go find a stonecutter. That's super convenient. I also do find it amusing that he put a bunch of zombies that can actually reach us with the spears here. In these little guard posts. That's a lot of fun. So yeah, just beautiful work by Corrales. There's probably 1,000 details I didn't notice while I was just looking at the tents. But I really like these tents. He's got a little tower up there. The whole thing is great. And meanwhile, over here, my level of detail, maybe a little bit differently focused. We do have a 12-foot tall skeleton in our front yard. And I have been working on making this space feel more cluttered, like the original Calvin Street Groove records. It's coming along. They had a little stage in the original. If you want to leave suggestions in the comments section below for, like, different kinds of, like... I was thinking, like, maybe having a musician with an instrument here, but I don't know exactly what I want to put. So, feel free to suggest what you think would be good. Let's go back out here, though, and see if we can work on getting these replaced. Now, I'm a little worried. I'm going to just be bumping into some sort of armor stands here. And we are going to have the awkwardness that is not going to stick to the wall. Okay, yeah. We're hitting an armor stand there. Cool. Can we just place this all in here like so? Yeah. Okay, great. I feel like that's already so much more open and perfect in a lot of ways. The lighting on the wall situation, though, not exactly a solved problem, because this won't attach to that. Now, we could have that awkwardly hang down there. That feels suboptimal, especially because in the original building, the porch light was actually mounted between the door and this little sign. So what can we put right here? So we're going to pop that soul lantern right there. So it's now at the height that it was at the original. And that's a really long chain. So even when we put a slab in there with the armor stand, I think it's going to look weird. That might just be too long a chain. That's also apparently going to be very differently lit than everything around it. That's the same block, but it has different lighting rules applied to it. Okay, that looks not good. That looks worse. No part of that was a good idea. That's how we learn. So we're going to take that down. Glow item frame construction capabilities. There's a world where we put a glow item frame there. And, like, this actually looks closer to the original in terms of the scale and all that. Ooh, customers! Welcome to the 12-foot tall skeleton in my front yard. The name of the shop. That's also the interior of the shop.
I like what you've done with the place, Joe. I have to say.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's a little bit of a mess, but it's getting messier. That's the goal. It's not messy enough yet to feel like a local record shop, like owned by 2 people who have been married for a while. You know what I mean?
Sure. Oh, you even put the... Dude, I didn't even notice you did this when I came here last time. Got the shelves turned on the side. That's really cool.
Yeah, there's a couple little armor stand tricks I did here. And then I've got the micro paintings from the stonecutter in the item frames here.
Ah, yeah. Don't accept checks from these hermits. Yep, that's wise. That's wise. The usual suspects.
Mm-hmm. The only ones that put their faces in the stonecutter.
Yep. Yep. I'm looking for some good bones, Joe. What do you recommend?
Well, I mean, the lateral cuneiform bone can meet all of your needs as long as they are lateral and or cuneiform.
You've convinced me. You've convinced me.
Woo! 1 diamond per stack, please.
I'm gonna get 3 stacks.
Woo! 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 3 woos for 3 stacks
Sweet.
of diamonds.
Let's go. Do need a couple. Do need a couple. I need to get some more dogs. So I got. I found some dogs out by the golf course. Some wild dogs. Some wild wolves.
Ooh.
So we gotta tame some of those.
Yeah, you know, a lot of golf courses will have like coyotes and stuff to scare geese away.
That's
You
true.
might
Yeah,
want to make sure Mama doesn't build geese over your golf course.
we could employ these dogs to scare away the geese. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's actually that's something I actually could make something like that. All right, thank you, Joe. Appreciate it.
Alrighty, bye, Cub.
See ya.
You can tell when Cub's actually like, wait, no, hold on. I need to go quietly think about this by myself. Woo! We sold some bones. If I remember which chest they were in. Yay. He didn't alphabetize his diamonds. Howdy, Tango.
I didn't even know you were there.
Yeah, I'm just working on my shop. Welcome to the 12-foot skeleton in my front yard.
That is what am I looking at?
This is a skeleton made almost entirely out of femurs. I felt like that was the funniest possible bone to use.
Joe, did you do this?
Yup, it took me weeks.
That is insanely good. Oh my gosh.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Look at the rib cage.
Well, if you need any skeletons for decked out, all the tricks I learned on doing this, I could probably build you 1 or 2, and much faster than the first one.
I am legitimately impressed. Oh my gosh, I have to find a place for a skeleton. Maybe not one that happy, but I'm going to find a place for one somewhere.
Yeah, I wanted this one to be welcoming, because I've got this whole shop here that sells alphabetized human bones. So if you need any of those...
What else would it sell? Alphabetized human bones. What does that mean?
Well, I named all the bones. These are all the human bones, and they've been alphabetized.
Joe, have you ever thought maybe you have a little too much free time?
Constantly.
What? Oh, you know, it's a good thing that you got a metacarpal here. Just did exactly what I needed. Thanks.
Yeah, I never know what people are going to need on this server, so I wanted to make sure I got all your needs covered.
You're filling that empty void that we just so desperately needed. That's good. Yeah.
Happy to help.
Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
The skeleton is amazing.
Thanks. With all these paintings in here, I thought it would be funny to, like, maybe spruce one up a bit and give this dog a bone. And then I kind of started thinking, like, well, you know what? There's, like, a wither skull painting over here. Maybe we put a few flowers in it. I mean, we put a wither skull up there, so we could maybe add something down here to these wither skulls. And then it kind of got away from me. I kind of started adding sheep who are firefighters to this skull burning painting, and I didn't really know what this painting was, so I just made it more unknowable. This one I knew what it was. I knew this was an underwater scene, so I put in some fish. And finally, the last one I just completed, armor stand. We added some leaf foliage. The leaf litter plus armor stands. If you embed the armor stand in the wall, let me show you real quick. If you embed the armor stand in the wall, after handing it the leaf litter. So if we put leaf litter on an armor stand's head, and then embed it straight into the wall here, it turns black, because it's considered unlit, right? So then we can come in here and then say, well, let's change the scale there to 0.35. Great job, 0.35. And we're going to pull that back out of the wall until it's just barely in there. Pop. There it is. You see the color change there? Then we can pull that up. Maybe adjust the Z a little bit here. And let's bring it over. And, whoops, not that way. That way was already perfect. What was I thinking? I had this sorted and then I ruined it. Okay. Then we can bring that back over here. And let's just maybe fill in that nice little gap there. A little bit of a gap in there. We can just bring that up. Bring that over. Yeah. Done. So now we have a painting with, instead of a dead tree with no leaves, we have a dead tree with dead-looking leaves. And I think that that has a value. So, anyway, we should probably head to our other green screen wall for the ending credits, because this episode's run on a little bit longer than I expected. Time skip. We placed a lot of blocks this episode, but one thing we didn't have to block was ads. This episode was pre-roll ad-free thanks to Patreon patron Mr. Lance. Thanks, Mr. Lance. This episode was also mid-roll ad-free thanks to Patreon patron Paige Marinchuk. In lieu of that mid-roll ad, I will now recite a haiku of my own devising. Attaching dead leaves to the branches of dead trees is mortician work. Until next time, y'all, this is Joe Hills from Nashville, Tennessee. Keep adventuring.